Hi, my name is Kelsey Kishimoto. I'm an independent artist based in the Bay Area of California, and I'm gonna teach you how to make millions. No, actually, I'm gonna take that out because I can't guarantee that. Hi, I'm Kelsey Kishimoto, also known as Kelsey Kishi Draws here and all my other social media platforms. And I've been selling my art in person for just a little less than a year and a half. I've sold at 40 plus events, varying from very small events from like 20 vendors and maybe 100 attendees to 400 vendors and 75,000 attendees. From doing all of that, I really feel like I've learned a lot, like a lot. I've asked you guys before if you're curious in hearing what I've learned and sharing it, and so here's that video. That being said, if you've watched my other videos before, you're probably like, where are we? What is this? Welcome to the Kishimoto household, the living room and dining room portion. There's the dining room. This is the living room. Back on topic. 10 tips for selling your art in person. What am I doing? I guess this is where I put the text or something. Number 1, hone your craft. This could fall under the same idea as offering quality products, but since a lot of small businesses tend to lean more towards makers and not resellers, quality depends on our skills. So if you're an artist like myself, you want to make sure you have a decent basic understanding of things like anatomy, color theory, composition. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect before you can start selling anything, but you have to have a basic understanding because customers can kind of come for you. Now, this is a complaint I hear a lot from other small businesses who have spoken about their experiences, but a common complaint can be, oh, I can make this at home, or oh, I could draw this at home, or something like that. I'm not bragging, I'm just being honest. I've never had that experience before because I think that the kind of art I offer is not something that your average person could feel confident enough to create on their own. And part of that comes from the fact that I took time to hone my craft. I wanted to make sure I really understood the things I mentioned before, the basics of anatomy and color. And that doesn't mean that when I started selling that I was already amazing. Like I look at my old stuff and I cringe a little bit because it's pretty bad, but I at least took time to understand. And because of that, after selling as much as I have, I've never come across a complaint of, oh, I can do this at home. This can apply to candles or something else that you make to the customer, whether or not you're a small business or a big business, you're just a business to them. And so they're already going to treat you as if you're a professional. They might not always understand that you're still learning or that it's homemade. To them, you're a business offering a product and you need to give them a good reason for them to give you their money. And if they feel like they could get a cheaper option at home, then they're gonna feel less obligated to buy it from you. Number 2, and you're probably gonna hear this a ton because it's 2024 and social media is such a thing. Know your brand. This can be especially tricky as an artist because you don't necessarily strive to be a brand or be a business. It's more like business is the secondary goal, and the first goal is you just want to be able to draw. But if you want to be able to draw and make a living out of it, business is the second part. And if you're going to be a business, you need to understand your brand, which again, as an artist can feel limiting, right? I can only draw or create this kind of thing. But if you're smart about it, it's actually very liberating and it can really help you understand the direction of your art brand. So for example, when I was first starting out as an art brand, I didn't really know what my brand was. I just knew I wanted to draw. And so I kind of just drew everything. I drew stuff from fan art to original things. And a lot of my original art is what I sell nowadays. And that is what really resonated both with me and with my customers. My fan art actually really didn't sell that great. And I noticed that all of my customers were gravitating towards my original art. And that's what I actually enjoyed doing too. And so moving forward, I focused on that. And focusing on that helped me find my brand. And my brand is pretty girls who can kill you. That's kind of what I've come up with. I have a lot of people who come up to my booth and they're like, oh, I love all the baddies that you draw. They don't always say baddies, they say cuss words, and I don't really cuss, but I appreciate what they're trying to say. But understanding my brand and the kind of art that both customers and myself gravitated towards helped me make so many decisions moving forward. What kind of art I'm going to be drawing, and then the kind of people who appreciate this art, where are they? What are their shopping habits? What kind of inventory do they gravitate towards? That's how I discovered that apparel is a really great angle for me because I've understood my brand. It's taught me more about my customers, and because I know more about my customers, I know what they want to buy, and because I know what they want to buy, I'm making more money. A really basic way to think of it is think of it as an aesthetic, right? When your customer thinks of you, what are the the vibes? What is the aesthetic that comes to mind for them? Another simple way to think of it is colors too. This can really help. A lot of people who tend to sell cute and kawaii merch will gravitate towards like pastel colors like pink and blue. And then people who tend to sell more edgy work will gravitate towards colors like black and red, like myself. My brand colors are actually, it started out as red and white, but that felt a bit soft. And so I started incorporating more black, and that has really helped push the edgy feel to my art. Starting as simple as colors and aesthetic can really help you figure out your brand. So in addition to honing your craft and knowing your brand, you're ready to start selling at your event, right? Kind of. I think something that could really help is point number 3, research your event. I mean, like, you could go into it blindly if you really wanted to, but the people who tend to prepare for things tend to be more successful. And that's the whole point of this video. Before I started selling my art at events, I actually attended these events as just a regular attendee. And obviously this is going to give you information to the event, what it looks like, where it takes place, how many people are there, the basics to it. It's important to understand these things before stepping into a situation, but also it teaches you the perspective of the customer as well. You're able to see things from the outside looking in before you have to be inside of it. And so you learn things like, how does a customer feel walking through these alleys looking at vendors? What kind of displays help me notice products better? What kind of colors really catch my eye? What kind of products do I tend to gravitate towards? This gives you a lot of context. And then once you actually decide to buy, right? How did this merchant make me feel? Before I sold at 626 Night Market, I actually attended 2 of their events the year before. I got a great idea of what it was like to be a customer, not just at the food, but like the merch is where I spent most of my time, honestly. But I interacted with them, and as I bought stuff from them, I saw how they packaged things, what they included in their packaging. But I was able to observe before completely participating in it. And so when a time came for me to sell at 626, I felt like I was really prepared. I had a really good idea of what I was stepping into. Okay, so you've honed your craft, you've done some research on your brand and your event, and you feel like you have a really great understanding. So now you're at your event and you're selling. What's the first thing you should do? You should really be concerned about displaying your products well. If the customers can't see it, they're not gonna buy it. So it's gotta look good. This is where tip number 3 really comes in handy, because as you see other displays, you'll understand this really caught my eye, or you'll understand, wow, I didn't even know this existed because it wasn't really on display effectively. And so knowing what kind of products you sell and then choosing displays that display that well can be the difference between making a sale and losing a sale. So for example, as an artist, prints tend to be paper, right? And they're flat. So if I lay them flat on a table and they're not angled at any way, if you think about how high a table is, right, and where the human eye lands, if I just look straight out here and I ignore my peripheral vision, I'm not gonna see anything that's lying flat. So if you're displaying paper products, they should probably be standing upright, and you're gonna look for displays that allow them to stand upright. So 2 tips to picking displays: make sure it's efficient, and make sure it's pretty. Make sure customers can easily browse through things. If a customer has to work for something, they're not gonna wanna buy it because it's too hard. Giving up your money already kind of hurts sometimes, so make them enjoy the process. Remove as many obstacles as possible so that your customer can enjoy observing your product. And if they can observe it, then they'll probably buy it. Number 2, make it pretty. The longer they stop and stare at something, the more likely they are to purchase it. At one of my larger events, the holiday fair at SJMade, my dad was with me, and he actually timed a lot of my customers over the span of maybe 30 minutes to an hour to see how long it took for a browser to become a customer. If someone stopped and stared for a little bit, he started his clock, and if they stared past a certain amount of time, I think it was about 2 minutes, almost every single time they became a customer. Keep your customers around as long as possible, because the longer they stay, the more likely they are to buy. So display your products well, make it efficient, make it pretty. Next, now that your products are displayed and customers are staring at it, they've picked it up and they want to buy from you. The next part is very important. Provide good customer service. Now, whether or not you like it, you are now a part of the customer service world. If you're doing this full time, you're your own boss, and that's great, but the customer still has the money. So you need to convince them to give you their money. And providing good customer service can sometimes be the make or break deal. I don't want to admit this, but I tend to be a spender, and so I tend to see a lot of things that I like, and very often I'm gonna buy them. But there have been multiple times where I've seen something I'm interested in buying. I have been ready to give my money to the vendor, and I did not like their attitude, or they were rude or unwelcoming, and I literally walked away and decided that they would not make a sale from me. Specifically, I think of this one time I came across an artist. I had actually first found them on TikTok, and so I saw them. I was like, oh, I've seen you on TikTok, you know, really bubbly, really smiley, and I was like, oh, I like your art, blah, blah, blah. This person barely looked up from their phone to acknowledge me, and they were just like, oh yeah, and then kept scrolling on their phone, and I was like, I was so ready to buy something from them, and I walked away. And to this day, whenever I see this artist booth, I walk the other way. This person left such a terrible taste in my mouth that I no longer like their product. I thought their art was good before. Now I hate their product because I hated my experience with them. And so if you don't provide good customer service, no matter how good your product is, if you're a bad enough person, you can ruin it so much for someone that they will never give you their money. Then the opposite has also been true for me. I have stumbled across a booth and I'm just browsing, and the merchant is so friendly and so welcoming. We bond over some random conversation, and before you know it, I'm walking away with like an art print and a couple stickers. And I might have just casually liked their art before, but then getting to know them as a person has made me realize I really like your art now because you provided such great customer service and because your personality is kind of fun too. Something like that can really paint your brand and can really paint your product in a different light. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be best friends with everyone, right? That can be a bit exhausting if you're trying to socialize and win over every sale through conversation. Truly, the least that you need to do is smile. If you're feeling really bold, you can say hi, you can say welcome. Just creating an atmosphere that lets a customer feel welcomed in your space can make a huge difference. It's also important to gauge the customer. If you really want to be good at this, always start with a hello at least, or a smile, and then gauge the customer from there, and you can kind of tell whether or not they want to talk or if they just want to shop. So now you're making sales, you're providing the best customer service you're capable of, and you notice that customers start to talk. Well, point number 6, listen to them. And you don't have to be all sneaky and eavesdrop, because very often they're going to be loud enough, or more often than not, they're actually going to tell you what they're thinking. Part of the reason that I've gone in the direction that I have, specifically with apparel, is because I had so many customers asking me, are you going to put this on shirts? Are you going to put this on clothes? Is this available as a hoodie? At a certain point, when you have so many people asking, you can't help but think, oh, maybe I should do this. I went to an event in June, Foodieland San Jose, and I made X amount. They asked me for t-shirts. I came back in September with t-shirts and I made 2X. I was literally able to double my numbers just by listening to my customers. Statistics do play a thing in this too. Just make sure there's enough demand for it before you go gung-ho at something. Also be smart, and this is where a previous point, knowing your brand, will help. If someone came up to me and was like, oh, you should put Hello Kitty on a shirt, and I'd buy it, and I'd be like, oh, well, I don't really draw Hello Kitty. Actually, no. Here, I did draw Hello Kitty, and she doesn't sell that great. She's on a sticker sheet over here. She's okay. And that's where knowing my brand helps me realize, oh, my customers don't really want kawaii fan art. They want the stuff that I'm making already. They like that. And that's gonna help you understand, yes, there might be demand for something, but also weigh it against your own discretion and your own brand. Is there a place for it in your brand? And if not, that's when you can start filtering out customers' requests. In addition to listening to your customers, make sure you're tracking your sales and tracking your numbers. I'm surprised by how many people don't do this. It's not hard. I just printed out a little sheet. It says cash, it says card, it says sales. If they paid in cash, write down how much they paid, write down what they bought. It doesn't even have to be super detailed. I don't write down every single sticker that they buy. I'll just write down 4 stickers. At the end of the day, when I count inventory, that's going to tell me what stickers sold the best. But keeping track of just basic information like this will teach you customer habits. They'll teach you what inventory sells the best. It'll even show you what kind of inventory does best at different events. Track your sales. You're missing out on a lot of information if you don't do this. It'll also teach you how people tend to pay in certain areas. I've noticed when I go to San Jose, I get hundreds of dollars through Venmo. But if I didn't have Venmo, I could be missing out on sales. So tracking your sales will teach you things like that. Okay, so you're at your event and you're rocking the customer service. Your display looks great. You're tracking your numbers. Now, go take a break and get some inspiration. I know you've already walked around the event as an attendee because you're great at doing your research and following my tips. But let's say you've got time for a break. Now just go experience the event as a vendor with your eyes wide open and see what you can learn. I always make time to explore the other merchants for inspiration. Inspiration, I'm not stealing anything. A good artist knows how to get inspiration without stealing from someone or plagiarizing something. But looking at several other creators and other makers, other artists, you can get great ideas for how to display stuff, or how to do this, or how to do that, or maybe I should try this, or maybe I should try that. But it's so important to get inspired because we can't pull from empty cups. If you're constantly creating but not getting inspired, you're just gonna burn out. But make sure to make time for inspiration. Don't think of it as a waste of time or even a break. You can even think of it as work if that'll motivate you to go out and observe things. It's so important to get inspired. Tip number 9, and this is something that I wish I had started doing sooner: make connections. At my first, I think like 2 events, I literally just stayed behind my table and I didn't even talk to my neighbors. They were like so close to me. I didn't talk to them. I was like, I'm in the zone. I'm doing my own thing. I don't want to worry about other people around me. But it wasn't until I sold at Sacramento where I realized there are lots of people who were like introducing themselves to me, and like people I was seeing over and over again. And at this point I was like, I can't remain an island forever. Like, these people see me all the time. I see them all the time. Why not say hi? I started going out of my way, introducing myself, and you can benefit so much from making connections, making friends, and making relationships. Number 1, you can just get a really great community. It's so nice to be surrounded by people that you like and you know, right? Like, you know, at some events I'll end up being neighbors with a friend of mine, and so we can just hang out the whole weekend, or we can like even help each other with bathroom breaks or just breaks in general, keeping an eye on each other's products. And as you get to know each other too, you can start sharing information with each other. Oh, this event went really well, or this event did poorly, or here's how I got into this event, or blah blah blah. You know, all these different ideas. You can start bouncing ideas off of each other. You can learn about things that you would not have learned about otherwise had you not had this connection with someone. And then at some point you can even start collaborating, right? Stamp rallies are a huge thing right now. If you have friends, you automatically have a stamp rally group right there. Whenever I go to a convention with certain friends, there's almost always a stamp rally that I could participate in if I wanted to. I have lots of friends there who are already doing one. Or if I wanted to start one, I already know people I could reach out to. Also, like, work opportunities, right? I've had friends hire me to design things for them, or people who I've seen, maybe not even friends, but we've just seen each other at a ton of events, and so they wanted to hire me to draw something for them. Don't miss out on making connections. I do want to throw in a tip. Don't be slimy about it. Like, if you're just making connections solely for the purpose of gaining from them, we'll be able to tell. I'm saying this to people who've done this to me. I can tell. Like, I can tell when you're just using me and I'm not interested in it. And then I might not be able to tell right away, but after a certain amount of time, you know, that sliminess comes across. And the last tip that is very near and dear to my heart: have some freaking fun. Like, there's a reason you're doing this, right? If it's a hobby or a side gig or a part-time job, you're using your free time on this because you like it. So if you're not having fun, that's just a waste of time. If this is your full-time thing, there's a reason that you're doing this and not that 9 to 5 that you used to do before, Kelsey. It's because you enjoy this way more. And if you're not enjoying it, then you might as well go back to that 9 to 5 because at least it provided healthcare. Not everyone has this wonderful opportunity to go out and sell this thing that you've made. That is such a wonderful gift to enjoy. So enjoy it and make sure you're having fun. And if you're not having fun, maybe take a step back and evaluate, do I really want to do this? Or is there a different way I could do this to make it more enjoyable? So those are 10 tips from me on how to sell your craft in person at pop-up events. What did you think? Are there some thoughts that you agree with? Are there some thoughts that you disagree with? Maybe there's something you still have a question about that I didn't answer. This isn't everything that I've learned, just 10 things that I found to be the most helpful, especially if you're just starting out. But if you have questions, comments, or concerns, as always, the comments below are open. Let's have a discussion. This is my first artist alley vendor vlog style video, and I'll be honest, I'm so nervous. I don't know if this is gonna be received well, but I figured adding variety to my video lineup wouldn't hurt anyway. So what did you think? Did you enjoy it? Am I annoying? Should I just stick to vlogging? Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. If you want to see more art, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And if you like my art so much you want to buy it for yourself, you can shop online at Etsy. Link is in the description box below. Maybe you really enjoyed this video and now you want to see what it's like to sell your art in person. Oh my gosh, look, there's a whole playlist ready for you right here. YouTube also thinks you're really going to enjoy this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around because February we've got plenty more events coming up. And next week we've got a special and my first draw with me. Hope to see you there.